Welcome back to Limb Driven Media. I'm Isaac, and I'm here with the first deer that I was able to take with my Grizzlystik setup. I'm using the Nanook 315 with the Momentum Black 250, and I want to break this kill down. I want to show you guys what happened. I have my entrance, and then on the other side here, pretty low in the body cavity, I have the exit. The deer was pretty much right below me. It was honestly a really great experience. I was able to take this deer at about 3 yards, and she ended up running 15 yards. When I gutted her out, I looked at the lungs, I looked at the heart. I had pretty good slit through one of the lungs, and it went down, and actually the broadhead detached all of everything that connected the heart to the lungs. All those main arteries, everything absolutely exploded. I had blood everywhere. I thought I center punched the heart, but I didn't. I actually didn't have any slit in the heart at all. But when I looked deeper into it, I figured out that maybe it was the rotational effects of the single bevel. I'm not really sure, but everything was just torn up and it was just a bunch of soup. But more importantly, I want to break down how the arrow penetrated. I want to skin this deer. I'm going to see if I ended up hitting any ribs, if I hit any bone whatsoever. I want to try to figure it out because the exit wound is pretty far forward. So I'm going to take a peek at that. First, I want to show you guys the broadhead. This is the exact broadhead I shot that deer with. As you can see, as I'm rotating it, all of the finishes are still extremely shiny. And I'm going to test and see if this thing still cuts hair. I'm going to use my leg hair because that was the standard that I used for when I was sharpening this head. So I'm going to use that. I'm going to try to figure out if this thing shaves hair. Oh yeah. She is still shaving hair. Look at that. Look at all that hair on there. That's basically like it's freshly sharpened. That's awesome. As you can see though, the arrow is still in perfect condition as well. As I move it up to the fletchings, you can see those still look great. I'm going to use this arrow again on the next deer I hopefully shoot this season. Everything is structurally sound. I'm extremely pleased with this setup. Alright, so we got this deer skin. I just want to give you guys a perspective. So this is where it entered, and then it was a really low exit wound. Exited down here. I mean, when I walked up to the deer, I could see that the exit wound was basically below its armpit. So it was interesting to see that, and that's part of why I thought that I center punched the heart. And it's not worth showing you guys inside the body cavity because it entered in between ribs, so I'm not going to be able to see the single bevel effects on like any type of bone for this specific kill. And it entered it exited below the ribs, so it exited below the rib cage. So I only had one opportunity to touch bone, and it just so happened that it went between. But I have something really interesting in this area to show you guys. And this is the confirmed effect of the single bevel. I'm going to get it nice and close, zoom it in for you guys. This is really interesting. So now I'm looking at the entrance, and I was really careful when skinning because I didn't want to interrupt any of this, and it's for this purpose because I don't want people to think that I did this. Look at this flap. I did not do this. You could see in the hide, it was just one tiny slit. Look at this flap. Look at how big of a cut that is. That is pretty close to 2 inches. That says 3 inches. That's a 3-inch cut on this first section of meat. It's this fat section. So it gets in and it has the dense connective tissue connecting the kind of this fat stuff to the hide itself. And in this first layer, I get this big of a cut. This, and I can put my finger all the way through. And this is why the single bevel works. See all this trauma? This is a good 2-3 inches of trauma on just a head that's barely over 1 inch. Look at that. That's something that I see from Rage. Everyone talks about Rage, and I'm using a single bevel head, and I have the dependability of one solid piece of steel, but I have the cut like a Rage on the inside where it counts, not on the hide. Alright, well I got meat to process. I just wanted to show you guys a little update on what I thought about the single bevel. It was my first kill with a single bevel. I've been preaching to people about it. The Ashby studies, 30 years of research had me completely convinced. So I went out and I said, yeah, all right, I'm going to get the best of the best. And I did. I got all Grizzlystik components to go with my dad's Lee Recurve that I was shooting this year. And I took out a nice deer, fresh meat, and this is enough to convince me. Maybe this doesn't happen every time, but if there's a chance of this happening at all, this is something I'm going to take because I shoot traditional, and even for people shooting compounds, use equipment that isn't going to fail. I know that one piece, forged piece of steel, that single bevel, that 315 Nanook, is never going to fail on impact. It's not just going to snap on a deer. It's not going to. There's a lot of steel there. Bigger game, it can happen, and that's why we use that type of material, that nice steel for big dangerous game. It's a dangerous game head. But I'm using it for whitetails, and this is why. You know, this makes me not seem so crazy, the fact that this happened. You know, I've been telling people it can make up to 3 inches. It can. And it did, and it's right here, and I'm happy to show you guys. Make sure you give Limb Driven Media a like. I'm going to have more autopsy type videos like this and more arrow tests. We're all about educating you guys. So give it a like, message me if you have any questions, and thanks for your time.